Hello everyone, welcome back. I am going to be showcasing my what I call Pin Can Win deck. So I've got some gameplay going in the background, and this deck, as you can mostly see, is comprised of orders. And this entire deck is based around pelting them with little orders and making them draw resistance cards. So it also slows down their advance as well. You can pin lots of individual units. You've got a couple board clears as well using CROSSFIRE. It also features the Front and Homeland Elite card. So on turn 4, this card comes to your hand along with another regular draw, and when you play it, it reduces the cost of all German cards with an odd cost in your deck by 1. This deck is focused a lot on drawing and a lot of cheap orders. So you've got Buzz Bomb, which usually costs 1 credit to deploy and you get a draw, except of course after you use Home and Front you are going to be using that one for free. And you've also got the countermeasure as well, so that when they draw cards you're going to be doing 4 damage to their HQ. And of course this procs when they draw a resistance card as well. So if you manage to have, say, 2 of them in your hand, you get 1 resistance damage off, and then both of those countermeasures will be 4 each, so that's 9 straight to their HQ, and it can be devastating. The reason I really like this deck is, I mean, first of all, it's really good. It's gotten me to Field Marshal a few times. It's still relevant, which is awesome with the new update that's come through. But also, it's very RNG focused, which is strange because I don't like RNG in video games. I really don't. I think it's like rather unfair, but for some reason with this, it just feels like you're walking into a casino. So a lot of the times you will win based on pure luck from the fact that they draw a resistance card and bang, boom, they deal however much damage to their own HQ. And it truly is hilarious. I've had so much fun with this deck and I'm very excited to share it with you guys. Of course, the link is in the description, so you can just copy that over. I found this deck playing against someone in casual. And if you don't know, here is how to copy someone else's deck. You can do it when in ranked or in casual, and all you do is go up to the little icon up here, click copy, go to your decks and then import the deck, and boom, you're ready to go. Anyway, that first game is me absolutely destroying someone, but now I want to show a game where it's a little bit tighter. So starting off, we obviously don't want Home and Front in our hand, as that will be automatically drawn on turn 4. I also think I made a mistake here. I think I should be putting Lightning Strike back into my deck, only because you can potentially be spending 7-8 credits or so trying to get this card off. So if you use it every single turn, then that's, and let's say it's turn 7 or so that it finally gets activated, that is 7 credits that you could be using on other cheap cards. So instead, if you put it back into your deck and you draw it after turn 4, after you use Home and Front, then it's going to be 0 cost, so you're playing it for free, and it just takes them by surprise every time. So I'm against a Jaggro deck here, so I want to be pinning as many units as I can, and fingers crossed that I draw that lovely, lovely CROSSFIRE. I also find that in these sort of circumstances, it's better to get as many resistance cards into their deck as soon as possible, because you want them to be activating to slow down their attack, which is why I opted to go for VIVE La Resistance over the Air Blitz. And there is this very cheeky addition that I have made to the deck, and that's adding this card here in, the 169 Grenadiers. It is so cheeky because every time they draw a resistance card, that counts as them giving an order. So they could end up discarding a lot of cards because of this. The moment this card comes on the battlefield, it becomes a priority for the opponent to take care of. Remember, it's also 5 cost, so after playing Front and Homeland, it's going to be 4 cost, and having a 4 cost 5/6 unit in your support line is going to be really handy to defend yourself. So not only are they discarding cards, but they're also having to try take down a pretty powerful unit. So I route the tank, which has 0 cost because I know that it will cost him more credits to move up, and he doesn't get to operate it and attack my HQ for free. And you can see it's looking pretty dicey here. I'm on 10 health, he's on 16. I'm waiting for him to draw extra. I do have the Enigma in my hand, which will be great later on, if I can survive that long. And of course, the Bismarck to finish him off. So I get the draw from Enigma, do a couple buzz bombs on him. It's important not to prematurely end your turn while card animations are going off. It's very easy to use one of the VIVE LA RESISTANCE, and then you wait for the resistance cards to be shuffled into his deck, and etc, etc, and then you think, oh, I've got nothing else to do, I'll just end my turn. You really should be very careful with that, because you can always draw a card which has 0 cost. Sometimes you'll just keep drawing, and if you get a countermeasure or something, you really want to activate that. So even if you think that you've got nothing left and you're just waiting for the animations, don't click end turn until you've finished drawing. So I like to really prioritize draws in this deck. If I'm not sure what to do, I'll play whatever card will give me another card. And that, of course, will sometimes lead to more cards being drawn, so it's just giving yourself more options. So obviously in this scenario here, if he has Blitzkrieg, then I am just completely gone. However, I decide to use Liberation just to boost my health just a little bit in the hopes that he doesn't have Blitzkrieg. I also made a minor mistake here. I believe that my suppress should have gone onto the Panzer 35T instead of the 109th Infantry, just so I can make it a little bit more expensive for him to deal some damage. And so I am just literally just out of options here, right? I can't get rid of enough cards in order to try draw a crossfire. I've just got to deal as much damage as I can. And this is when we emote and we pray to the RN Jesus of cards and hope that we get what we need.
Heart of the cards, guide me. Let's finish this, Kaiba!
And then, ba-boom, ba-boom, we just won the jackpot. I bet that guy was just absolutely fuming from that, but that sort of stuff is, oh, I just get up from my seat and I walk around, I'm like, oh, that felt so good. Yeah, anyway, that's why this deck is really, really fun. So anyway, there are a few other things that I want to talk about just while this gameplay here plays in the background. On turn 3, the ideal card to play is Liberation. So when choosing what cards you want to have in your hand, if you have the choice between Air Blitz and Liberation, put Air Blitz back into your deck and keep Liberation. Because when you pull Air Blitz later on, after you've played Home and Front, that will actually be a 2 credit cost card, not a 3. So it's slightly more efficient that way. And I also think that it's better to get those resistance cards into your opponent's deck early on. And a little bit of extra health never hurt anybody. The other thing you need to keep in mind is that when you go second, you need to use at least one card. If you don't use any cards, or if you use a card like Buzz Bomb, which basically replaces itself, on turn 4 you're going to draw a card, and then that Home and Front card can't come into your hand because you've got 9 in your hand, and you'll be forced to discard. So you need to use at least one other card, whether it be Air Blitz or Resistance, or any card that doesn't replace itself. You need to use that before turn 4. If you are unlucky enough and you are unable to play Home and Front, maybe it gets discarded or there's a countermeasure which prevents you from using it. Whatever it is, the game is not over. It helps significantly, but games are still very easily won even if you don't use Home and Front on turn 4. Which leads me to the next point, is that sometimes you don't actually need to use the card on turn 4. Sometimes it's worth delaying home and front by a turn or two in order to pin a few units and then use a crossfire the next turn. So home and front is a really important, really powerful card, but it's also not the end of the world if you're unable to play it. The other thing to do with this deck is that you can never surrender. It's very easy to look at the board state and realize like you've got absolutely nothing, they're going to win next turn, I can't do anything. Don't do that, because remember what you've done is you have placed a lot of resistance cards in the enemy deck. Which means that even if they have lots of strong units knocking on your front door, the RNG gods might be looking down upon you, and they may bless you by forcing your opponent to draw resistance cards, thus pinning their units and letting you live for at least one more turn. If you don't have anything to do on your turn, you can turn REICH RESEARCH into expanded REICH R&D and then hope to get a synthetic oil. That's one of the things that you're going to be looking for, because pairing that with ENIGMA, and you just have so many credits and so many cards to go through, and you can do a lot of damage in a single turn. Anyway, one last piece of advice before I go, and that's concerning arming the resistance. Sometimes you want to use this to kill a high value target. Other times you want to kill a unit which has low defense, so you can put as many resistance cards into the opponent's deck as possible. Let's say you're just about to die. Your HQ has a couple health left and he has a big unit in the front line, let's say 8 attack and 5 defense, and he's also got another unit next to it which has got 1 health, 2 attack. Whichever unit you choose to take out, you're dead the next turn. So what you need to do is use arming the resistance on the card which has lower defense, because then his opponent is more likely to draw a resistance card the next turn. It also means that if you can't find a card which has low defense on their side of the board, look to your own side of the board. Maybe you've got a unit with low defense which you can use arming the resistance on. Remember, this is a very desperate last minute tactic. If you need to use arming the resistance on yourself, do it. Play the odds, people. Pray to RNG and walk out of the casino as a jackpot winner. Thank you, and we'll see you in the cards arena. See ya.